Did you miss me? Good morning, good afternoon, good night. My name is Ribbit, and today is my very first book review. This is my first book review that I'm doing online. Normally, how I say this is like actually in person, obviously to another person, hopefully. I mean, sometimes to my dog. But I have opinions and I like giving them. So I wanted to start doing book reviews in order to give my opinions. So this book is called Lord of Eternal Night by Ben Alderson. He is actually a British author, independent, and I found him on TikTok. This is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, but instead of Belle, it is two dudes, which is very nice. As someone who grew up reading BL, it definitely did bring me back to like when I was obsessed and would only read BL and BL only. What this book is about is that we have the main character, Jack, who is a witch and a magicless coven, but he is the first one of 100 years who actually is born with the ability to use magic. That's because he is part of a prophecy. The prophecy is that there is a beast in a castle. Yearly, there he is given a claim, basically a sacrifice, in order to keep him in the castle. But it is prophesied that on the 100th claim, aka Jack, that Jack will then kill the beast and therefore return magic to the entire coven. Of course, there is more to it. There's things of trickery, there's things with mother issues. There is vampirism because the beast is a vampire, although he is the first of his kind, and they never use the word vampire. Vampire. I mean, he drinks blood, so yeah. There are a lot of elements of the story that I liked, and let's just go over those things. I love Jack, this one. I love Jack in the sense that I love how he was a product of his raising of his very his mother didn't treat him like a child. His mother definitely treated him like the thing that is going to fulfill the prophecy, not as this is my son type of thing. Very annoying. And he is definitely a product of that. He does not look for warmth, he looks for solutions. Even in places where he should be looking for warmth, it's just more solutions. I like Jack. I like his characteristics. I like how he's playing a game, but he's still showing that he is a person. Because he's trying to seduce the beast in order to, fulfill the prophecy, to keep him around so that way, whenever the blood moon comes up, he can do the job and do the thing that he's been destined to do. I do like the Beast. I'm calling him the Beast because the name is hard to pronounce for me. Marius, Marius. I am not good at pronouncing these names. I do like the Beast. I do like his complex backstory. I like how withdrawn he is because this is the 100th time he's done this. He has killed every other claim. He doesn't want to keep doing this. He hates what he becomes, he hates who he is. And it shows. I like how they mention his depressive states. I like how he doesn't want to be what he is, and yet he knows he cannot fix it. I like the side characters. I like Victoria. She is a ghost of one of the past claims. I also like Catherine. She is a human whose bloodline has been bringing food and things that may be needed for the claim or that the beast may need throughout the year. Her family has been bringing things for generations. It was said that she does it just as her mother did it, just as her mother did it, so on and so forth. So I like her and I like her character. I like how innocent she is, despite being in a not so innocent situation. Same thing with Victoria. She presents as a child, but she is a very unchildlike in her eyes. Obviously, she is going to project as she was whenever she died, which was young. So I like that duality or dichotomy. I don't know which word to use in this situation. I like how it shows both sides of like, yes, she looks like a child, but she has been around for more than a child should. Unfortunately, that is where the likes kind of end. I do like the characters. I like how they build. However, there is a huge chunk of this book that is so boring. I could not continue to read it. I had to force myself to read it. It was not a good time. The setup to it, I kind of liked. I liked the building. I liked the world building. I like how things were like going back and forth between being told and being shown. However, I do not like how slow it was. At first, I did like it. I was like, okay, cool. We're going to get a more build up. We're going to get more going. But then the pacing was just bad. I was tired of it. So then I'm sitting here wondering because the Beast is constantly staying away from Jack in order to. He doesn't want to get emotionally involved with yet another person who he's like, I'm going to have to kill this person again. I don't want to get emotionally involved. It's going to be too much. Why on earth would I ever do such a thing? So he's staying away, which makes sense. I'm sorry, I keep looking at myself. My makeup came out so good today. So I like that idea. I'm wondering how is it that they're going to fall in love when it's marketed as a romance, but they're having very few interactions with each other. Like I said, at first I liked it. It gave a chance of the world building, the life of the castle that is within this barrier, the life that is within the castle. So, it's world building. It's really nice. And then they had two, maybe three, I think, interactions. I don't have my notes. My iPad is dead and I don't feel like charging it. They had so few interactions that I can count them on my hair dye stained hand, and yet they somehow fell in love. And I'm talking very deeply in love. They didn't fall in lust, they fell in love. Very huge difference. They had their first interaction, they had their first spicy scene about halfway through the book, maybe a little bit further, and yet they had so few interactions with each other. I got bored in the middle of the spicy scene because it felt undeserving. The characters are so much in love for so little time spent together, it makes no sense. The Beast is showing Jack these most intimate parts of himself, not just the intimate part, but like he's showing him a very special room in the castle with something that is so unique to him. And Jack, most of the interactions that they have had has shown a facade of seduction rather than showing himself. At that point, you're not in love with Jack. You're in love with the persona that he has showed for most of the interactions that you have had. Yes, that projection of himself will slip and then he'll show himself, but then he'll put it right back up. So, no, you're not in love with him. Did I mention that this book is slow as hell and I had to force myself to finish reading it? Honestly, if I hadn't said on TikTok that I was going to review this book, I would have put it down and never picked it back up. Even during like the third act where everything is supposed to be intense, it was drawn out too long. Like this book could honestly be about 25 pages thinner. Everything just kept getting drawn out, and I can tell what happened is that the author just had so many ideas and so many scenes in his head that he just put them all down. I think he should have gone through and just trimmed it just a little bit more. It would have made the book obviously smaller. It's not that big of a book. I just checked it. It is 290 pages. I would rather take a smaller but better paced book over a longer and dragging story. And the thing about it is that it's set up to have more books. This one, I believe, has 3 or 4 more in the series, and I have no interest in reading any of them. I heard that this author did get better at pacing, but I don't want to take the risk. I have other things that I could read, I have other moments that I could have, but this is just, it's very meh. I was not wowed. In fact, if someone asked me about it, I don't think I wouldn't recommend this, honestly. The only time I can recommend it possibly is to someone who is very beginner smut reader and is trying to like, what's something light that I could read? Or like maybe I would recommend this as like the book that you're not trying to like read through and finish, but like, read a chapter here, read a chapter there. But then honestly, if you do that, the pacing is so slow, you're going to forget stuff. And this is just a personal thing, but I didn't like the language it was written in per se. It has a very fantasy type of read that constantly brought me personally out of the reading experience. When I described this to a friend, she said it's because my next word prediction was off. So when I'm reading normally and something that speaks in my vernacular per se, I am then more accurately able to predict the next word, and therefore it keeps me in flow and it keeps me in the book. This did not have that. Think of like fairy speak if you're not really sure what I'm talking about when I call fantasy. I'm trying so hard to describe it, but I can't quite get it. It's just a certain speech pattern that took me completely out of it, and I was just kind of done with reading it. Overall, this isn't my favorite. And if it's yours, that's amazing. And I'm glad you found a book that resonated with you. And I'm glad you found an author that resonated with you. However, for me, this does not resonate. I would rather not. I think it is a very nice coffee table type of book. I think it is a very nice bedside table type of book. I don't particularly like it. So, with that, I don't recommend it. I'm sorry. And also, I would give it 3 out of 5 frogs. This is one of those things I can see somebody else liking it, but definitely not for me. If there are any other books you would like me to read and review, go ahead and leave a comment down below. But just know I already have a lineup of 1, 2, 3, I think like 4 or 5. So yeah, I will still have this book, Lord of Eternal Night by Ben Alderson, linked down below. It was on Amazon. So if you want to read it and experience it for yourself, you absolutely can. I am obviously not the end all be all of opinions, although I like to think so in my mind sometimes. That's all. Enjoy the rest of your day. I don't really have a sign off. Okay, bye. Mwah.